Lesson 8-8, Writing Linear Equations. So before we can begin writing linear equations, there's a few things that we have to know. We first have to know what slope is, and slope is defined as the angle in which a line changes. So as you see a line that possibly starts at a low point and goes upward, or starts upward and goes down, the angle in which this line is changing is called the slope. And so we can call this slope equals the rise over the run. So it's a proportion of how far something is rising and how far it's running. So if we started here, it was the rise over the run. Or in this case, on the one that's going down, it's kind of the same thing. It's the rise from the bottom and run, but it's in the negative direction. So you'll see a little bit more of that. But just make sure that you remember that slope is rise over run. When we are given 2 points on a line, you can use those 2 points to find slope by using this formula here. So for example, if you have 2 points that are like 3, 2, and -1, 6. The first set of points is your 1, so this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So you plug those numbers in for the equation. The y2 is 6, the y1 is 2, the x2 is -1, and the x1 is 3. So this would be 4 over -4. So the slope of this line would be -1. Another form that we usually see slope is the slope-intercept form, and that is this one here. Y and x are usually always your variable. M is the slope, and B is the y-intercept. So this means where the line intercepts y. So sometimes you're given something that may say if the slope is 1/2 and the y-intercept is 5. So then to write your equation in slope-intercept form, you write y equals 1/2 x plus 5. Now, this is not always a plus or minus. If the y-intercept is in the negative, then it may be a -5. But if it is a positive, it is a plus. So pause the video to try a few examples. The first example, I want you to find the slope of the line using the 2 points. And in the second example, you're finding a slope of a wheelchair ramp. So for the first example, you want to use that y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So my y2 is 2, my y1 is 3, over 1 minus -4. So 2 minus 3 would be -1, and these two negatives become a positive, so this becomes a 5 on the bottom, so my slope is -1/5. For the next example, it says, what is the slope of a wheelchair ramp that rises 2 inches for a horizontal change of 24? So rise and then run, because you're horizontal, it's kind of going across the horizon, you run 24. Now you have to simplify like we do with any fraction, and so the slope of this line would be 1/12. You can also use a graph to write the equation of a line, and you can do this in a couple of different ways. The first way, which is the most easiest, is to write it in slope-intercept form using the y-intercept, which is right here where it intercepts y. So you can see that's -3. And the slope. So how you determine the slope is you start at a point and you count up as far as you need to and over as far as you need to until you reach another point. So in this case, it would be up 3 over 2. So our slope would be 3, 2. And then you just plug in your y equals 3 over 2x minus 3. You could do the same thing where you're taking the 2 points and you're calculating the slope, and then plug the slope into this slope-intercept form. And there's one more form that we're going to talk about, and this is the point-slope form. With this, you must have the slope, so you may have to use one of the other forms that we've learned, of either the definition of slope or the counting the rise over run. And then you want to plug in your y1 and your x1 from the set of points that you've been given. And if you do that, then you are usually left with an equation that would look something like y minus 8 equals 1/2 x minus 4. And this is just a little bit of an example. There'll be another example to follow. So let's look at an example together. This says write an equation for the line that passes through 4, 5 and negative 2, 3. So you want to first start out by finding the slope, and I'm going to use the y2 minus y1 x2 minus x1 to find the slope. So my y2 is 3, my y1 is 5, my x2 is negative 2, and my x1 is 4. So my slope becomes negative 2 over negative 6, and negative 2 divided by negative 6 would be a positive 1/3. So my slope is 1/3. So now I have my formula of y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So my y stays the same. My y1 is 5 equals m is my slope of 1/3 times x, and then my x1 was 4, so we would say minus 4. Now you could leave it in this form, or you can write this in slope-intercept form, which we will see next. Now to turn this into your slope-intercept form, you want to remember that you're trying to solve for the y. Well, to do that, you first have to distribute your 1/3. So you have y minus 5 equals 1/3 x minus, and then you have to take 1/3 of 4, which will get you approximately 1 1/3. So then you have to add 5 to both sides, and so you have y equals 1/3 x plus 3 2/3. So this would be your slope-intercept form of the previous example. Pause the video to try a few examples and your lesson review. Make sure you show me this lesson review for verification of watching this video.